The Uninvited Guest to me is one of the best albums that I've ever listened to. And I've been privy to, listening to some things ahead of time and seeing, the visionary at work. I call him a genius. I'm very, honored to call him a brother and a friend. So my brother, will you drop all of your social media? Tell people how they can follow you, how they connect with you, and stay up with what's going on with Slow Chemical.
Yeah, man. I'm more active on Instagram at Never Silver Spoon Fed. You follow me, I'll follow you back for sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the JT Experience. Voices, visions, and vibes. I am your host, James JT Thompson, aka the Poet JT. Join us. Welcome to the JT Experience, Visions, Voices, and Vibes. And I got a very special guest in the building with me today, no other than my guy, Slow Chemical. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, man.
No doubt, man. So tell our people a little bit about yourself, man.
Oh man, my name is Slow Chemical. I'm a comic book creator. I'm an artist, producer, podcaster. Just all over trying to. I'm gonna use a John Cena phrase here. I'm just trying to be useful in this world, man.
No doubt, man. So tell me, what inspired you to first become, a creator and get in that space?
I didn't know what I was doing, man. I knew I had talent for writing when I was really young, and I was always fascinated with just how people could put words together. And I had this teacher who her name was Miss Brown, and instead of writing a paper, I was in English class, and instead of writing a paper, I was writing my first ever rhyme. And she saw it, and man, it was filled with a bunch of typical stuff. I'm gonna kill you, bang bang, wow, pew. And she looked at this and she said, "Well, I want to see you after class." So I'm thinking I'm in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
She said, "If you can come up with a rap that's 16 bars," her exact words. I didn't even know what 16 bars was at the time. So
Mm-hmm.
she was a hip hop head. She said, "If you come up with a rap with no cursing, no killing, no drug dealing, I'll let you get an A for the rest of the class. That's all you need to focus on." It took me the entire 4 months to come up with something that made sense. It wasn't good, but I took my love of wrestling. Like, I have this song called Losing My Mind. The very first line in it is, "I put you in the sharpshooter submission hold, make you tap out." That was the first ever line I wrote as a rap.
Mm-hmm.
And she saw that and said, "This is what can take you somewhere." She was like, "All this is your personality. The stuff I read before is not you. It doesn't have to be you.
Mm-hmm.
I know where you come from. I know all these things, but you wear your wrestling shirts. Like, you're genuinely a happy person. You don't have to be what you wrote the first time." And to her credit, she gave me that A.
Mm. So would you say that was someone that would have been your first inspiration, and you use that to continue that journey?
I would say, yeah, that definitely. I didn't know it at the time, but yeah, for sure, because you know, I, our teachers don't get enough credit. I see teachers like quarterbacks. They don't get
Mm-hmm.
enough credit. They don't get enough credit, but they ain't gonna sure take all the blame.
Mm-hmm.
And she could have simply made that a problem for me. She could have, what I was writing, she could have took to the principal and said, "Hey, man, lost cause over here."
Mm-hmm.
But she went another route with it and never said anything to. She never went to my mom, nothing about it. So this was
Mm-hmm.
all her in her mind. So yeah, I would say for sure. I didn't know that at the time, and I did honestly, I didn't know until you just said it.
No doubt, man. So when did you first discover that you had that gift um, for creating? And we know it turned into music, comic, just everything is spurned into so many different things. When you discovered the gift and you first got it in your hands and in your spirit, what were your first initial thoughts?
I'm gonna speak to you in hip hop terms. I know you understand it. There's this rapper named Bubba Sparks. He had a great first album, and to me, his second album is highly underrated because
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't talking negativity; he was talking positivity. And he has
Mm-hmm.
a song where he says, "Forgive me, Lord, I didn't know what I was doing when I was handed this gift." And I feel like when to answer your question, I feel like once I really start connecting with other musicians, other creators, I start realizing this is what I'm meant to do. And this is because they're not better than me.
Mm-hmm.
And not only are they not better than me, they're not saying anything. But for me, that confidence was so pushed down that it took a while for me to realize it took a lot. Let me say this. The best way I can answer that is the engineers I've worked with have helped to mold Slow Chemical into who he is, Ryan into who he is. That's the best way I can put it. Like having when you're in the studio and you have this engineer that's pretty much a stranger to you, be
Mm-hmm.
like, hey man, what you doing with that? You have a plan for this? And I'm like, I don't know why. And like we're having those questions. Like when I first started this journey, JT, I said this and I prayed this. I said, God, I will stop rapping if I get one person to nod their head to my music.
Mm-hmm.
All I wanted was one person to acknowledge that I had something special.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got the name Slow Chemical, I've told that story before. I was like, oh, so he's listening to my lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's when I said, I think I got something. And I didn't keep my word, obviously, but but I don't think I was meant to keep that word.
Nah, it was meant for you to put it in the world, and I'm glad the breakdown of the name Slow Chemical and how they came about. What's the story behind it?
I never told you this, JT.
Oh, we gonna give our audience this scoop.
Oh, okay, okay. So I was going to the studio with this rapper named Lyricist. He was a rapper producer. We're driving to the studio, and I'm a huge wrestling fan. And there's this wrestler named Kane. He's
Mm-hmm.
currently the mayor of Knox County. His name is Glenn Jacobs, and he has this fire. He had this fire intro, theme song called "Slow Chemical" from I don't remember their name. Forgive me, but they are a good band. And I'm driving to the studio listening to it, and he's like, "Yo, man, do we have to listen to this?" I was like, "Well, it's my car, so yeah." And
Mm-hmm.
so at that time, I didn't have a name. So I'm in the booth, I'm in the studio. And it's one of those studios where the glass, you can still see the artist, you can see the engineer and all that stuff.
Gotcha.
And all I see is lyricist, he's writing. And lyricist looks up, he looks at me. I could see him as I'm rapping. He's distracting me at this point. So he stands up and he goes to the engineer and he's telling the engineer, stop, stop, stop. And he's like, yo, that's your name. I was like, what? He's like, man, your style is a drug. Your style, like it takes a while, but people will get it. It burns slow. You are the slow chemical. And I've been
Mm-hmm.
going with it ever since.
Yeah, I know the story. I thought it would be fascinating for them to get it here on the JT experience. So we fast forward a little bit and get into the comics. What was the motivation behind the first ones that you created?
I just wanted to create one book. I've always been a comic book fan. That's my other passion. And I had this idea for a comic book called Dawn the Mask. And I was in my first year of college.
Mm-hmm.
And my advisor, I would have meetings with her because um, I have to give a shout out to Dr. Brown real quick. Dr. Brown, God bless his soul. He's been passed away for a year. He's the one that convinced me to go to college. And when he convinced me to go to college, to his credit, he paid for my first 3 semesters. And he said, utilize everything that you have. So I started going to an advisor, talking to her, and I told her what I wanted to do, and she hooked me up with Murat Sari. He was an artist, and he was looking for his own way, and we kind of just came together and put together this comic book. I can tell you right now, it's the worst book I've ever done. But even with it being not that good, Indianapolis Comic Con called me and said, "Hey, we saw that you just published a book. How you feel about doing the panel?" This is in 2016. And I was like, I've never done one before. They said, well, we'll pay for your way out here. You have to pay for your own hotel room, but we'll pay for you to come out here and do a panel. And I got to that Comic-Con. I'd never been to a Comic-Con a day in my life. And that moment changed my life and gave me the love for comic books, because I only had 10 people in my first panel. And I said, man, imagine if this thing is packed. And then having people ask questions about our stuff. Like we were nobody at the time. We
Yeah.
just got the comic book a week before.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. That's how that passion began. And then I decided I wanted to build a world, and I had these characters. And Todd McFarlane's one of my inspirations in the world. This guy had the Spawn character from the time he was a kid. My Messina character, I had him from the time I had the idea of him from the time I had envisioned doing one comic book. I just didn't know how to put it together.
That's what's up, man. And it's amazing for all the things that we tapping into. The audience is definitely going to tap into all your social links when we get to the end of the show. Let's move back over to the hip hop part and talk about the uninvited guests and the work that went into this latest album.
Oh man, it was unexpected. I was living in Colorado at the time, and I had the studio with this engineer named Gladwell, and I was just recording, and I didn't know what I was doing. As far as just, I didn't know I was putting together this. I knew I was putting something together, but I didn't know what. And then I had these 6 songs that had no home. And I decided to throw that out there. And that was the EP Kill the Messenger that I put out in 2022. And I just had these 6 songs. And I did actually, spoiler alert or fun fact, I didn't like any of the songs. I only put them out there because Gladwell was like, yo, what are you doing with this? The world needs to, when Gladwell told me the world needs to hear this, I said, are you like mocking me? Because that wasn't the relationship we had. He was a pretty cool dude. He's like, no, I'm telling you, I feel strongly about this. Mm-hmm. So I put that out there, and there's a song on there called Think About It. And once people heard that, people like that one head nod I was talking about, that's what I started getting. And I was like, yo, like, okay, I need to put this album together, figure it out. The name of the original album was called Privacy is an Illusion. But as I was listening to the songs, I was like, it's not hidden the way I want it to. Mm-hmm. And then I kept, and Jay will confirm this, I kept hitting my head against the wall trying to work with people. And I said, man, I feel like I just said it out loud, man. I feel like I'm the uninvited guest. And I said, that's the name of the album, The Uninvited Guest. Yeah. And that's what it came about.
You got some dope visuals that going on with the album. Talk about the cover itself, and then talk about the visual that you shot for one of the songs as well.
So the cover is of one of my characters. He's a parody character of Kanye West. His name is Felon Best. We're actually gonna push him hard in 2025. I was doing comic strips of him a couple years ago, and I still have them. I still have a bunch of them that I've never put out. I took a break from it because I really had a master plan for him, and I want to reintroduce him next year. And he's such a hilarious character. I said that should be the cover. Because at first I was going to do a live action cover, but I was like, no, because once again, hitting my head against the wall trying to get people to work with me, it just was weird. So anyways, that's where the cover came from. And then the first single for the longest time was supposed to be How You Feeling, but I wasn't feeling it as the first single anymore. And then one night I was asleep. I don't actually believe I was asleep. But anyways, I came up with the hook to Vibe Check. And I was like, yo, that could be something. And then we did the song, we did the beat. And then I said, this should be the first single. And that's how we got Vibe Check. And I got Mintaka. He's a director out of the Carolinas. I got him to direct it. We were in Atlanta. And actually, fun fact, you know this, your audience doesn't know yet, but they will. Where we filmed Vibe Check, the video, was the same place I filmed my first short film video, and short film movie, excuse me. And when I showed it to Mintaka, he was like, "Yo, we could do so much with this," and I love what he did with it. You know, I to be honest with you, I don't like watching a lot of my stuff back. I like pushing it, but I like what he did with it, and all based off that, I liked our chemistry. And then we went into Mixed Emotions, which is the second single. And I sent him the script of what I wanted, and he knew how to capture he had his own vision. Once he's seen on paper what I was looking for, he captured a whole, he had ideas and ideas and ideas once we got back to Atlanta to shoot Mixed Emotions with the actress Ashley Rogers. And We're working together again on some stuff. I don't really want to announce it yet, but there's a lot more coming for that.
Dope, man. Like I said, all this stuff you'll be able to go when you follow Slow Chemical and go and check out everything that's out there in the atmosphere. Give the people the insight on the podcast that I get to come on and co-host with you with on some, special episodes. Tell them a little bit about that.
It's called I See Things a Little Differently. It's an extension from my previous podcast, which was called Why Repent, I'm Gonna Do It Again. I changed the name. I took a break from podcasting for a little while because I had moved across country and just didn't have the time to do it. And in 2020, I said I had the itch to do it. And finally, COVID just opened the door for it.
Mm-hmm.
And once I got the structure down, you came on twice before. And I remember because I don't know how we found out about the wrestling thing. I don't know how I found out about it, but we found out, I think because I was on Big Blue Radio. And we talked to him. He came on once, but then when he really started coming on was after the unfortunate deaths of Bray Wyatt and Terry Funk. And I think that really, I said this to people before, that really sealed our connection, not just as fans, but as friends. And to me, that was more important, was the friendship part. And so our shows have just gotten better and better to where I have people, like you went like maybe 3 or 4 months without coming on. And I had people emailing me like, yo, is JT and you beefing? I was like, nah, I like to bring them on for special events, like I just don't, if you it wouldn't be special if we had them on every Monday and that's talking about, well, Raw was kind of all right. You can get that anywhere, and so that's where that came from. But it's every Monday and I do a match of the month every first Sunday of the month.
It is a special event anytime me and Slow Chemical, hook up, collaborate, and friendship and brotherhood is a very important part of that. And, to establish it with a brother that I've never physically met in person lets you know the seriousness and the depths of that connection. So I appreciate you for the opportunities and the things that we have worked on and the things that are to come. Which brings me to my last question. What makes you most proud of 2024 for us creatively, and what's next for you in 2025?
2024 is more about the fight because I wasn't planning on putting the album out, and I've never told this story publicly. I just had to record a new record. I tell it in, but man, I was in a depression. I lost 2 people very close to me in 2023, and I was in a real. I want to say it was the first time I was in a real depression in my life. It was bad, and Jay had introduced me to Mintaka at the end of 2023, but I just didn't have the funds to work with them. In May of this year, I looked at my account. Let's be real, guys. We all know how much money we got in our account. We don't need to look at it. And I saw that 30 cents in my account, and something in my head said, "Man, it's either now or never. You either gonna crap or get off the pot." And I hit Mintaka up. I said, "Yo, I ain't got the money right now. I can have it in a week. Just work with me. You won't regret it." He said, "I got you, bro." And no lie, what made me want to put the album out even more is Mintaka had heard Vibe Check before, but I sent him 3 tracks before he met in Atlanta. By the time he got to Atlanta, he said, "Bro, is a whole album like where are you on? Like, who are you?" And I was like, "Well, what you mean?" He said, "Man, that what you sent me is dope, man." He was like, "You got something," and it made him excited. And that right there, that's the thing I'm most proud of, is not giving up when you're down. We're gonna have peaks and valleys, but just don't stay down. At 2025, it's a lot more coming, man. We got issue 7 of Messina coming out. We're in the process of in production of that, and I'll just say go West. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, man, pick up on it. Pick up on it. When you're listening to this interview and watching this interview, there's some gems that have already been dropped in this interview, and it gives you clues to what's ongoing and what's coming. And that's the coolest part, about Slow Chemical, is he knows exactly how to drop it in there for you, and he's giving you just enough to whet your appetite into the next, to the next time. The Uninvited Guest, to me, is one of the best albums that I've ever listened to. And I've been privy to, listening to some things ahead of time and seeing, the visionary at work. I call him a genius. I'm very, honored to call him a brother and a friend. So my brother, will you drop all of your social media? Tell people how they can follow you, how they connect with you, and stay up with what's going on with Slow Chemical.
Yeah, man. I'm more active on Instagram at Never Silver Spoon Fed. You follow me, I'll follow you back for sure. I'm more active on there. I do actually follow people back. I actually do like looking through people's work and chatting on there. Let me say something. I got into a point on Facebook where I felt I plateaued, and then on Instagram, I found that, and just it's the community I felt with this comic books or music. I love it on there. So that's where you can. I can give you everything else, like my website, removentertainment.com. But really, if you hit me up on Instagram, man, that's the best place to find me. Also, uninvited guests on every streaming platform. Thank you to everyone who's listened to it. It made it my best year in streaming ever, not just on Spotify, but on mainly Apple Music and Amazon Prime. I see things a little differently. Like I didn't know we were touching people in Chile and all these other places. So thank you to everyone who listened. I really do mean it. Like I do actually care and put the work in. So I appreciate y'all.
Here's the truth, legendary and genius before your eyes. He is the Slow Chemical, and he's been in. He has the vision, the voice, and the vibe to move and inspire an international and national audience. Well, stay up and click on those links. Appreciate you coming through the JT experience. And this has been a dope episode with the Slow Chemical. We want y'all to continue to be inspired and encouraged to do your thing and listen to upcoming episodes of the JT Experience. Watch us on, the channel and the links below. We are out. Appreciate you, Slow Chemical. God bless. Good day.
Appreciate you, brother.